which is a debate team for academically gifted kids in Birmingham who we recruit during the spring of their 8th grade year. And since this is the 5th year, our first class graduated last spring. We had 8 seniors come down here. About a year and a half ago, Dr. Witt committed to full 4-year tuition scholarships for every kid on Speak First. And UAB agreed to do that same thing later that afternoon, which has been really exciting for our team. And these are kids that there's no requirement to be there. They don't get a grade. Just from the time they were 14, they already know they want to go to college, and they want to do everything they can to get to college. And through no fault of their own, they happen to be going to schools that can't afford debate teams and can't afford a lot of other extracurricular academic activities. So they come practice debate with us for 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, and have a tournament every month against mostly wealthier suburban schools. And that's been an extraordinary team. I think powerfully symbolic of the need for more investment of time and energy and money in public education, especially in poor areas. The second initiative is called Focus First. I don't know if some of you have heard of that. That's our vision screening follow-up care initiative, which as of now we have partnerships on over 22 campuses around the state. And this addresses the vision care needs. Most importantly, educationally, I think, for students on campuses is to realize that although you happen to be living in the most technologically advanced, productive, wealthiest by most standards nation in the history of Earth, there are 9 million children in your country right now, and as of about 6 months ago, it's probably closer to 10, who don't have health insurance, who don't see doctors regularly, have no primary care. And one part of that failed national system betraying poor children as it relates to health is vision care. A lot of people don't think about that, but just the way we're made, about 10% of us need some kind of glasses, something to do to fix our eyes well enough so we can learn how to read properly. The vast majority of 4-year-olds across the country don't see pediatricians regularly and don't have their vision checked until they get to public school. There's no state in the country that comprehensively screens children before public school. The reason being, you can't find them in very big numbers until they get to public school, so it makes it really expensive. But it occurred to me 5.5 years ago, what if we were to use the service learning model for this effort? What if we tapped into the sense of compassion and service among college students and partnered with professors and administrations on campuses around the state and had it become part of courses? And to make a long story short, 22 campuses later, we've trained over 1,300 college students, and we've screened, as of last month, about 49,000 2-, 3-, and 4-year-olds. 12.5% of them had a serious eye problem. When I say serious, it could be, I think of my own eye problems as minor, but it would make it a lot harder to read when you're 4 years old if you need glasses and you don't have them. And you think about it this way, if you're 4 years old and you're looking down and you're trying to learn how to read, and you can't tell the difference very well between a C and a D, you don't know you can't see well. You've never seen differently. You don't know that other kids around you are seeing better. And they learn how to read slower. And a lot of times they start acting out because it's frustrating to have kids around you learning something that you're not. And some of them get labeled slow, attention deficit disorder, dumb. But for more than 10% of them, they just need someone to check their vision. We also find kids with something called amblyopia, which is a fancy word for lazy eye. If something is wrong with one eye significantly more than the other, what your brain does at a very young age is start to shut down that eye. It's like your arm in a cast. It starts to atrophy. And if you don't get to it and fix it in time, you can no longer repair the connection between the brain and the eye. 500,000 children a year in your country go blind permanently from lazy eye. Completely no excuse. 98% of the time it's easily curable. It doesn't even cost much to cure it. Have you ever seen a kid walking around with a patch over their eye? That's lazy eye. The doctor either puts glasses on the eye, sometimes there's a procedure required, but then you have to patch the dominant eye and force the brain to strengthen its connection back with the weak eye. We found 6 kids last year with cataracts on one eye, which will blind you permanently inside a year and a half if it's not caught. And we were able to catch it. And I say we, I don't go take these pictures. This entire initiative that now reaches 67 counties is run by a staff of recent college graduates who come to work for Impact for about $10,000 a year. plus a $4,700 scholarship at the end of the year. College students your age doing this, younger, doing it at a very high level, using a $4,000 camera that takes pictures of children's eyes, shows you what's wrong with their vision. Beautiful initiative. And I'm proud to say, as I assume you all would be, this doesn't exist in any other state in the country. This is an Alabama-generated and grown initiative that hopefully will be copied at some point. Right now we're trying to grow it to Philadelphia, which is where I went to college. And we've had about 400 little children screened there by students at the University of Pennsylvania. This is a problem that exists everywhere. I don't know how many of you have been to Penn, but Penn is a very wealthy campus. The Children's Hospital there is one of the wealthiest, most famous children's hospitals in the world. The first kids we screened were at a daycare across the street from the hospital. We just walked with the equipment from Penn to the daycare. You can see Children's Hospital. I could throw a tennis ball to Children's Hospital. None of those kids have been screened. And 13% of them had an eye problem. That's Focus First. The third one is called Save First, which is a tax preparation financial literacy initiative, which goes to serving families who qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit. Have you all ever heard of the Earned Income Tax Credit? Some of you? The Earned Income Tax Credit is the nation's largest anti-poverty program we have. It's one of those rare tax policies that enjoys bipartisan support, which is rare. And President Reagan was a big supporter of the Earned Income Tax Credit. It grew under the first President Bush. It grew more under President Clinton. This is a refundable tax credit to families who work and who have children and make less than $42,000 a year. That's a big segment of Alabama. This results in $1 billion a year coming into our state for these families who qualify and receive it. Two problems. One is the IRS estimates that 11% of the money is being left on the table. In other words, families who are working, who are eligible for this tax credit, fail to apply and receive it. That's about $130 million just for Alabama working families who leave that money on the table. Problem number two is the forms are pretty complicated for people who aren't accountants and who don't have a sort of experience in this kind of financial forms. 75% of our Earned Income Tax Credit families in Alabama pay a commercial preparer to do their taxes for them. The national average is about 60. 60% across the country pay. 75% of our families pay. That puts us 49th in the country. Mississippi is the only state where a higher percentage of their working families pay for these things than ours. And when I say pay, most upper middle income families who go to a CPA, who go to a trained certified accountant, pay less than $150 for sometimes pretty complicated tax forms to fill out. Our families making $20,000 a year with nothing but a W-2, no itemization, pay $200, $250, $300, $350, $400 for about 30 minutes of work. It's a raw, mean-spirited industry that's grown up over the 90s, targeting these families specifically in January and February to prepare their returns and to get them their money back quickly during this season. We set up a network of trained college students in community sites around the state. This is our third year. This year, we have, as of 3 days ago, over 400 college students trained from 16 campuses across the state.